Hey there, Al Iverson here. It's time for another one of your email authentication and deliverability questions answered. This time around, I'm going to talk about new email sender requirements just released by Microsoft. This was just announced on April 2nd. Microsoft says that this applies to their consumer mailboxes. They specifically highlight live.com, outlook.com, and hotmail.com. They've got a number of other consumer mailbox domains too. I would assume that those apply to those ones as well. But the key here is they are saying that this is consumer mailboxes, not Microsoft 365 mailboxes so far. You want to read the Microsoft announcement? I've got a link for you right there. We've also got our analysis and a link to that Microsoft announcement on our blog, the ValaMail blog. Feel free to check that out there. And so, what are these new bulk sender requirements? Specifically, as noted, they're for bulk senders, people sending more than 5,000 messages per day to Microsoft. Um, Keep in mind that you might send more mail than you realize. So it doesn't just necessarily count list mail, that could include one to one mail, basically, any mail coming from your domain. Now, the new requirements are specifically authentication related. Those are the most important ones, in my opinion. They're requiring that your email messages have SPF and DKIM, email authentication, that's sender policy framework, domain keys identified mail. You've got to have email authentication in place. You need to publish a DMARC record. You need to implement DMARC for your domain. They are requiring that. Today, they are saying that a DMARC policy of P equals none is good enough. I'm putting an asterisk next to that because keep in mind that that does not protect your domain against phishing and spoofing. And I think there's a chance that in the future they or other mailbox providers could choose to change their stance on that and require a more restrictive, a more protective DMARC policy of quarantine or reject. They're also specifically calling out alignment. This is great. If you've seen some of my recent videos, you know I talk about alignment quite a bit. Alignment is where the hidden headers that where email authentication actually happens, the return path or envelope sender header, the DKIM signature header, the two places where the email authentication checks actually happen. Alignment means that one or both of those matches the visible from header. That's the good proof that an email message came from the domain that's showing up in the from address. So that's very important. So it's very good there that they are calling out alignment specifically. Additional requirements. Now, if you are email deliverability or email marketing savvy, these might not be a surprise to you. Some of them are quite common best practices, but just to cover them very quickly at a high level, they're saying you must have compliant sender addresses, meaning that your from address or your reply to address actually has to be routable and working, that it actually has to be a valid email address. Functional unsubscribe links. That should be a bit of a no-brainer, right? Make it easy for people receiving marketing mail from you to say no more, to make sure that they're not going to receive future messages. List hygiene and bounce management. Make sure you're processing bounces properly. Make sure that you're tracking subscribers, tracking unsubscribes properly, and overall have transparent mailing practices. Everything should be permission based. People should not be getting unexpected mail. That is not a path to email deliverability success, and Microsoft are wise to call that out. Compliance is going to happen pretty quickly. The initial compliance date noted by Microsoft is May 5th, 2025. They are saying that at first, non compliant bulk mail will be routed to the junk folder. And in the future, non compliant senders are likely to be blocked outright. So, this is going to be bad news. This is going to be trouble if you're not complying with these requirements. You're going to see spam folder placement at first, and in the future, you're going to end up blocked. Couple of more important points here. This really puts email authentication in the forefront of sender requirements. What's required to send email in mass successfully to top mailbox providers? These new requirements from Microsoft very much mirror requirements put forth by Google and Yahoo, announced all the way back in October 2023. So, what you have here is a parity of policy across a whole bunch of mailbox providers. Not only Microsoft, not only Google and Yahoo, like I just mentioned, but also Apple has very similar requirements. They require email authentication, SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. Whole bunch of other smaller mailbox providers out there require this as well. So what started as a common best practice or BCP is now very much a published requirement. DMARC is required. Email authentication is required. Now, keep in mind that the focus here today is on consumer mailboxes. Like I talked about, Microsoft specifically highlighted Outlook.com and their other consumer mailbox domains. Google specifically calls out Gmail, their primary consumer mailbox domain. In the future, though, putting on my magical wizard hat and looking into my crystal ball, it seems to make sense that they would at some point expand these requirements to cover corporate mailboxes as well. Why wouldn't you? They want to protect their users against bad things in email, phishing, spoofing, malware, that sort of thing. DMARC is really good at helping with that. That's why they're rolling this out as a requirement across the consumer mailboxes. So, looking ahead here again, I think it's likely that this is going to be more broadly a requirement across corporate mailboxes too in the future. Now, the DMARC policy is a remaining open question here too. Um, these mailbox providers so far have said that P equals none is a good enough policy. I disagree. It doesn't protect domains against phishing and spoofing. It's much better to get to a protected, enforcement level DMARC policy of quarantine and reject. I think this is because mailbox providers are probably looking at this from a phased, gradual approach, and so they want to get DMARC on people's radar first. And this is another step in that direction. It helps make more people understand and know and learn what DMARC is and begin to implement it. So I rather suspect there'll be at some point in the future where there's a good chance that mailbox providers might actually require a more protective DMARC policy of quarantine or reject. Now, if you have questions, you want to learn more about this, I've got a link here and I'll put it above or below the video. Link taking you directly to the Microsoft announcement. We've got our analysis on our blog as well, so please check that out. If you got any questions about this, feel free to drop me a line at al.iverson@valamail.com. Always happy to hear from folks, answer what I can, and if you're lucky, maybe your question will end up as something I focus on in a future video. All right, that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching. If you're confused about all of this and having trouble complying with these new sender requirements, we can help. We are DMARC experts. This is our area of expertise, very much so. Check out our website. Come visit us at valamail.com when you're ready to embark upon your DMARC journey. Thanks. Catch you in the next one.